This time in Goss's Garage, we're joined by Rick Robinson from American High Performance, and we are going to talk about tire profile and traction. Now, here we have a typical modern tire. This is a low-profile tire. It's a 35 series, and 35 means that the distance from the rim up to the tread is 35% of the width of the tire. So this is a 255/35 tire. So not much here if you hit a bump. Now, Rick, that doesn't bode well necessarily for racing.
No, it doesn't. A tire needs to be able to flex as the loads of the vehicle and the road take effect. And if it can't do that, if it's a very rigid tire, it's not going to be able to maintain contact patch traction on the pavement. Of course, these things are typically this big because you see the size of the brake package on this particular tire, and the brakes are very important.
Right.
The wheel's got to fit over the brakes, but it's also looks as well, right?
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that the big diameter tire wheels look great on a tire, little skinny tires, and it does, but it doesn't help you in terms of performance on the car unless you've got a really soft compound on the tire, and then of course it's going to wear out in just a few miles. Now, as an example of what a performance tire, particularly in the drag racing scene, really looks like, here's a 275/60 15-inch wheel drag radial that you'll typically see down at the drag strip on the local drag racer's car. You notice the size of the sidewall. This is a 60 series, and as Pat mentioned, that's 60% of the width of the tire. Around the town, you're not going to see this on anything other than a truck, and that's because everybody likes the looks of the skinny one. And this is the one that's going to give you the traction at the drag strip to get you launched out of the hole and moving down the track.
All right, Rick. Now, we have moved from the shop back here into the studio, and what we're seeing right now is a picture of a tire on a car at the drag strip under acceleration.
Right, so how does this fixed wide sidewall translate into motion at the track? And as you can see in the picture, as you apply all of these hundreds of foot-pounds of torque to that wheel, the car has to get going first before everything starts to really balance out. And you can see the sidewall flexing significantly in that tire, absorbing some of that torque, allowing the tire to maintain its contact patch on the pavement and make the car launch.
Okay, now this is a similar tire to what we're seeing in the picture, or we're seeing. So here's where the big difference comes in, is from here on the sidewall.
Right. And again, it's that ratio between the width and the height of the tire, and having that flexibility there allows the tire to undergo the tremendous loads that it does, and still maintain contact with the road. This particular one, I think the one that we saw in the picture, was an actual drag slick, which means it has a smooth tread surface on it, all rubber, no grooves or anything.
Sticky rubber, too.
Very sticky rubber. This particular one is a drag radial, so this is actually approved for both street and strip use. You notice the grooves in it, which allow it to shed some water, at least. I wouldn't get too frisky if it started raining and you were driving around on these.
Yeah, for sure.
But it'll get you home if you drive careful. It is a DOT-approved tire for street use. But in the rubber on this, you can push your fingernail into it. You can feel the softness of the rubber. It's not as soft and sticky as the drag slicks are, because there's more of that intermediate tire.
Okay, now one negative to using something like this on the street, in addition to wet traction and so on, is wear.
Absolutely. Softer the rubber, better the grip, lower the mileage. You're just not going to get the mileage out of this one because that rubber is so soft and it's wearing off so much quicker than a regular street tire will.
And this is something that applies to all tires. People seem to want the ultimate in traction, they want the ultimate in wear, they want the ultimate in fuel economy, they want the ultimate of everything when they buy a set of tires, and that just isn't possible. Tires are a trade-off.
Yeah, we haven't found that perfect rubber compound yet that's going to give us all of that. And it's part of the science and engineering that goes into tires. One of our favorite street tires is the Continental Extreme Contact, and it comes in a DWS rating. D for dry, W for wet, S for snow. So the full DWS is an all-weather tire that will function in all conditions. DW is your typical performance summer tire that will work fine in wet conditions as well, but not in the winter when the road freezes.
All right, now another thing that has always been an issue when we go to the drag strip is that the rim will actually spin inside the tire.
Correct. So much torque in these racing vehicles that it can actually twist the wheel inside the tires. The tire is trying to maintain its grip on the ground. And you'll see cars out there with screws all the way around the circumference of the rim. They're screwed into the bead of the tire. They don't go all the way through it, so it's still solid and it's not going to leak. But they hold that wheel in place in the tire so that it doesn't do that.
Okay. Other ways to do it?
There's a device called a bead lock. Now, a bead lock will help you in terms of the spinning of the wheel inside the tire, but its primary purpose is to keep the beads seated on the lip of the wheel. If you've ever seen the videos of dragsters going down the strip and how the tire just grows in diameter as it
amazingly so.
But it's also narrowing in width as it does that as well, and that can actually pull the bead off the rim. Now you've lost the tire completely.
Gotcha. All right, what other things do we need to know about tires if we're going to the track?
Tire pressure. What do I run? If this drag rail, because it's qualified for the street, a lot of guys will just drive to the track with this on the car. Hopefully you've got a good 30 pounds of air in it as you're going to the track as well, so that you can have good safe handling on the street. But when you get to the track, 30 pounds of air is not going to give you the traction you want on a launch. So we'll take these down to anywhere from 12 to 15 psi, depending on the conditions, temperature of the day, temperature of the track. All of those conditions come into play as to what tire pressure you want to run when you're out there. And it's really a trial and an error thing. You go out on one of the test and tune runs and just see how the thing's performing, and you adjust tire pressures from there.
Okay, a lot to learn about traction and tires and so on for the racetrack. Rick, how can people get in touch with you?
You can reach us at AmericanHighPerformance.biz on the internet or by phone at 703-339-7412.
And if you have a question or comment, how about dropping me a line at radio@goss-garage.com.